Wes Anderson is probably the easiest director to identify from a single frame. The symmetry, the colors, the dry humor, the production design, there's really nobody else making films that look or feel like his. Over the years, I've gone through his entire filmography, and this is my ranking of every Wes Anderson feature film from worst to best. I'm also including The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and 3 more as one entry, since it was released as a feature-length anthology. This is just my personal ranking. Some of these placements are going to be controversial, but that's kind of the point. Let's get into it. Number 13, Bottle Rocket. Starting at the bottom is Bottle Rocket. I actually like this movie, but compared to everything that came after it, it's clearly the most rough around the edges. You can tell Wes Anderson is still figuring out what his style even is. What it does have is a lot of charm. The Wilson brothers are great, especially Owen and Luke, and the whole thing has this low-budget, slightly chaotic energy that works in its favor. It feels more like a group of friends making a movie than a fully formed Wes Anderson film. It's fun, it's easy to watch, but in terms of what he would go on to do, it's clearly the starting point. Number 12, Henry Sugar and 3 more. This one is tricky to rank. Henry Sugar and 3 more is basically 4 Roald Dahl adaptations packaged together as a feature. And the best of them is definitely The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Benedict Cumberbatch is great, Ralph Fiennes is great, and the way the narration and staging work feels very intentionally theatrical in a way only Wes Anderson would do. The other stories are solid too, and the cast is stacked across all 4 shorts. The only issue is just the format. Every time you get locked into one story, it ends almost immediately. It feels less like a full film experience and more like 4 really well-made experiments back to back. Still, it's a really interesting project, and I'd honestly like to see him do more stuff like this. Number 11, The Phoenician Scheme. At number 11 is The Phoenician Scheme, Wes Anderson's most recent film. This one is very much him in full control of his style at this point. Every frame is carefully constructed, every line of dialogue feels deliberate, and the cast is doing exactly what you expect from a modern Anderson film. There's a father-daughter dynamic at the center of it that actually gives the movie some grounding, and I think that helps it more than people might expect going in. That said, while I enjoyed it, it didn't really stick with me the same way some of his earlier films do. It's entertaining, it's visually strong, but it doesn't quite hit that emotional peak I get from his best work. Number 10, The French Dispatch. The French Dispatch is basically Wes Anderson building an entire magazine and turning it into a movie. It's split into different stories, and each one has its own tone and visual identity. The cast is absurdly stacked, and there are individual moments that are genuinely excellent throughout. Visually, it's one of his most detailed films. The black and white sections, the color shifts, the framing, it's all extremely precise. But for me, it's one of those movies I respect more than I connect with. I like it a lot, but it doesn't hit emotionally in the same way as the films above it. Number 9, Rushmore. Rushmore feels like the first real Wes Anderson movie. Max Fisher is one of his best characters, completely delusional, overly ambitious, and somehow still really sympathetic. The whole school rivalry with Bill Murray's character is where the movie really comes alive. It's funny in a very specific way, but there's also a lot of emotion underneath it, especially around Max trying to figure out who he actually is versus who he thinks he should be. You can really see his style locking in here for the first time. Number 8, Isle of Dogs. I've always liked Isle of Dogs more than I expected to. The stop-motion animation is incredible, and the world building is honestly top tier. But what stands out most is the emotional core of the story, especially the bond between Atari and the dogs he meets. It also gets darker than people sometimes give it credit for. There's a real sense of isolation and abandonment running through the whole thing. It's one of his more quietly emotional films, even if it's wrapped in a very stylized package. Number 7, The Darjeeling Limited. This is one of his more personal films. It follows 3 brothers traveling through India, but really it's about grief, distance, and trying to reconnect after a long time apart. The chemistry between Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, and Jason Schwartzman is what holds the whole thing together. There are a lot of smaller, emotional moments that hit harder than you'd expect, especially when the brothers finally start opening up to each other. It's messy in places, but that actually fits the story it's telling. Number 6, Moonrise Kingdom. Moonrise Kingdom is just a really charming movie. The performances are great across the board, especially from the younger cast, and the whole thing has this very specific sense of innocence to it that makes it stand out. It's funny, it's sweet, and it has a lot more emotion under the surface than it first lets on. It's also just extremely easy to watch. Everything about it feels light, but still meaningful. Number 5, Asteroid City. This is probably the most controversial pick. A lot of people don't love Asteroid City, but I really do. The desert setting, the sci-fi elements, the layered structure with the play within a movie, it all feels like Wes Anderson pushing his style in a more experimental direction than usual. It's definitely one of his most self-aware films, and yeah, it's probably a little pretentious at times, but I think it works. There are moments and lines that just stick with you, and the overall aesthetic is easily one of my favorites in his entire filmography. Number 4, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. This movie has always hit for me. Bill Murray as Steve Zissou is perfect casting. He's playing this washed-up ocean explorer chasing something that already feels out of reach, and the whole movie has this weird mix of adventure and sadness. It's funny, but there's a lot of emotional weight under it too. The father-son dynamic especially gives it a lot more depth than you expect going in. It's strange, chaotic, and kind of heartbreaking in a really interesting way. Number 3, Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is a fantastic movie. The stop-motion animation is beautiful, the voice cast is perfect, and it somehow balances being a kid's story with genuinely sharp humor and emotional weight. George Clooney as Mr. Fox just works completely. Every character feels distinct, and the dialogue is incredibly tight and quotable. There's not much to criticize here. It's just one of his strongest films start to finish. Number 2, The Grand Budapest Hotel. At number 2 is The Grand Budapest Hotel. If you want a movie that represents Wes Anderson at full power, this is probably it. Everything is operating at the highest level here. The production design, the colors, the pacing, the humor, the performances. Ralph Fiennes is incredible as Gustav, and the relationship between him and Zero gives the movie a real emotional core underneath all the style and chaos. It's funny, it's dark, it's incredibly well constructed, and it feels like the peak version of this entire style of filmmaking. Number 1, The Royal Tenenbaums. My number 1 is The Royal Tenenbaums. This is the one that hits me the hardest. It's about a family full of people who are all kind of stuck in their own failures, regrets, and unresolved issues, and trying to deal with that years later. Gene Hackman is incredible in it, and the whole cast just works perfectly together. It's funny, but it's also one of his most emotionally heavy films. What makes it stand out for me is how real the emotional core feels underneath all the stylization. It's chaotic, it's sad, it's awkward, but it all feels human in a way his other films don't quite match. It's easily my favorite Wes Anderson movie, and one of my favorite films in general. That's my personal ranking of every Wes Anderson feature film. Let me know your list because I'm sure a few of these are going to be controversial. Thanks for watching.